is probably earth shattering, right? Like whether or
Stop
not
it. Don't make fun of me.
aliens in
So
Mexico. That's what I'm thinking. What were you
my
thinking?
oldest child makes fun of me because my username on social media and other public places is my name,
Yes.
like at Kerry Gorgon everywhere.
Yeah.
And they think that's embarrassing. And I was like, what? That's what you do. But they go out there and they'll be like, fat rat, or, just, I don't know, whatever. I like purple or something. Like that's what
Right.
that'll be
Right.
their
I see what you're saying.
username. And they never put any identifying information any place,
Right.
even when they're trying to build a following on YouTube or Twitch or wherever. So I would like to talk about that. Like, what is the current thinking on that? Oh,
No, I mean,
also, it's 11 a.m. Eastern. Welcome to the Backpack Show.
yeah, the new and improved, no one even knows we're here backpack show at
I know,
this
it's
new hour.
hilarious. Whoopsie daisy.
Hi everyone, Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gorgon, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack show.
You broke it. You broke the show after after 3 years. You broke it.
Yeah, we broke the show by moving it 1 hour. Hey, but
We moved
they'll
it.
find us again.
Moved it a bunch of times. Anyway, what's your thinking? Because you're Chris Brogan all the places. You're not like, well, you are bad aim, bad jokes.
Well, yeah, in my off world, but it's funny because like I started way back in the day with bulletin board services and all that, and my dad was like, "Do not use your real name anywhere. Like that's not okay." Like because I was a kid, and they were like, I don't want some weird stalkers to come and get you. So I had all those like teenage boy names that you could have on platforms like Wraith and Black Vampire and whatever, and like I had all these really dumb names online, and then when social networking became big, Chris Brogan was the right way to do that, so I just was that. So I don't know. I mean, I think okay, well, let's point out a detail here. Like we both have a trans kid. My trans kid, after they went through all the work to legally change their name to Vincent, said, I don't know. I'm not sure I want Vincent. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. What are you doing here? And so, for instance, when they got their retail job, they named themselves Cable, Cabal. Okay. And I was like, okay, why are we doing this? And at first I was not very supportive because, I was just grumpy.
Because you're like, here we go again.
We just did all this. And they said, right, except that Vincent is a purely male name. And I said, right. And then they were like, but I'm non-binary. I don't feel purely male, just like I surely didn't feel female. And I was like, oh my gosh, ding, like names have assignment to them. And so maybe that's part of the thinking with this crowd is that, your online name is different.
Well, my oldest also has pointed out to me that my name was popular for a very short period of time in a specific decade. Yeah. And so that it dates me. And it's, in her opinion, it's the only thing that dates me. So I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so, you should be named Madison if you want to be,
Oh my God, I know. Like, should I be Kayla? Jayla?
Kayla, Layla? Kylie. I feel like that's
Kendall
head when they're naming off the strippers.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah. Did you ever see there's this graphic that's like gems of stripper names and the frequency of them, and it goes from like top to bottom, so it starts with like, I don't know, Ruby or something, and you'll go through like diamond and amber and then by the time you get to the bottom, you're at like, I don't know, zirconia, I forget. Crystal. But yeah, it's pretty funny. Crystal's on there. But yeah.
Hey, but I'm happy Hispanic Heritage Month, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Did you know that it starts on the 15th instead of the 1st for a reason?
Sure. Why is that? Google?
Hold on, let me Google that for you.
Yeah, you told me. It turns out that Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala all share the same Independence Day. I only asked one of the countries they're independent from, but I don't know if it's all five picked the same one, but it's from Spain.
I didn't dig in to see why that was. I did not. I chat GPT'd it for you, basically. Like,
thank you.
I
support it. Hey, happy Hispanic Heritage Month. I honestly thought they were getting rooked. Like we were just like 15th to the 30th. That's all you get. Like you don't.
Oh my gosh! Now you
Heritage.
Yeah. I thought it was more like I don't know. Like we want to start late, so we're going to end late. Like 15th to the 15th. I just assumed it would be a whole month. But anyway, what do you think now about names if you were going to set up your social media presence or whatever. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But let's just say you're gonna.
Yeah.
Do you use your real name now as a business professional, author, and all that? Or do you set it up with some other name and just advertise that name on your site? Like, I don't know.
This is the age-old branding question that I like to call the Coca-Cola problem. So are you Coca-Cola or are you the Coca-Cola companies? Because if you're the Coca-Cola companies and people say, I don't want to drink soda pop, you go, great, I have Dasani. And you're like, oh, I can't drink straight water. That's cool. I've got this cool iced tea brand. You know what I mean? So you have a solution for everybody if you can have sort of branding flexibility. That's how companies look at this sort of a thing. Like Arby's just bought Buffalo Wild Wings for like $2.1 billion or something. And I was like, wow, Arby's, known for their, like, let's just say roast beef, even though they have like 8 other meats, is buying Buffalo Wild Wings, who's known for wings. And I was like, wow, these are 2 brands who maybe kind of have some branding challenges who are now going to be, now there's some like diversity. That's the business side of it. What does that elicit in you for thoughts when it comes to the personal side, do you think?
Whatever you do, though, it has to hang together. So like if you name your app, like, I don't know, Notepad, and then later on you want it to do other stuff besides be a notepad, you're going to be limited. Like, you could also make it too random. So you could have like Kentucky Fried Chicken or KFC and Taco Bell and Pizza Hut under the same roof. Does anybody want that? It's kind of strange. I call those Kentucky Hut. Does it make sense? I don't want my brand to be Kentucky Hut. Like, I have to figure out, what kind of like what I want to be, but with the understanding it's going to evolve. I guess you'd have to be like the Constitution. Like, you have to be flexible enough.
So I think that's the kind of answer there, is the sort of brand behind the brand thing. Like Richard Branson calling everything virgin is kind of cool in one way, but it's also like he had Virgin Cola. Who cares? He had Virgin Banks, like it only works because it's the cult of Richard Branson. By the way, speaking of this, a very recent, as maybe yesterday, Harris poll just came out. This is going to shock you. No one wants to call it X. They want to call it Twitter.
I wouldn't say they want to. I say they're gonna. So good luck with that rebranding. Also, by the way, the X graphic does not work in screen readers. So nice job, like being insensitive to accessibility questions. Hi, Joel. Names kind of matter.
By the way, the franchise king himself is weighing in on that. So I would love to know Joel's take on that, because Joel helps people who are going to buy a franchise figure out what they're going to do with, should I or shouldn't I pick up a Subway store?
All stems from the conversation that my oldest was like, God, it's so embarrassing that your Discord username is your name. Can it not be that? And so I changed it to the name that I used to use as a woman in the early days of the internet when I didn't want to be identified as a woman. So I use that everywhere now.
Which think about that statement, because like that's another part of the naming thing. Like I was saying about my trans/non-binary kid, they don't want to be attached to a gender in a name for a lot of reasons. And you were saying that for the other reason.
And it was intentionally
basic misogyny.
Hiding.
Like,
I was I was General Jax. So nobody would ever think I was, whatever. I wasn't there for them.
Book authors too, like V. Castro. I mean, there's a lot of book authors who, they do I don't want to give my name because I don't want you to prejudge me.
Yeah.
Based on my gender.
Oh, that's so interesting.
That's crazy.
Changing your name is surprisingly easy, actually. It's like you pay a small fee, show up in court. It's not that big a deal. The big deal is all the paperwork you have to do afterwards, and the fact that your name follows you forever when you change. So, but for businesses, it's the same. You file, let's say, for like an LLC or a corporation, and your corporate name, you can have different product names, brand names, whatever. But if you're like a person and that's your corporation, you've got to give that some thought, because that's going to be showing up places.
Well, and, I mean, look, we both work for a company where we have a portfolio of products. It would be absolutely murdery to have only the one product. And that was a thought that Atlassian faced right before they were getting ready to go public. They almost renamed themselves Jira because that was their most name brand thing. But then what would that have done to Confluence? Like
Bitbucket
and all those other pieces, Trello. So, I think the Coca-Cola company mindset probably shades my answer on that one, but I don't, the there is a fluidity to naming that the Gen Z age crowd seems to go with that is not the same for me. You know what I mean? Like they don't care if you remember their name in a certain way.
I guess that's true. What about like Kodak or Amazon? Like you pick something that's either made up completely so it can mean whatever you want, or arbitrary, like it doesn't, like Amazon didn't apply to selling books. It was this whole other thing.
Correct.
So, or Apple, same thing. So like I could make something up and be that. It would be, you know.
I think that's much more defensible too as a lawyer. Hey, this is what our franchise king friend says.
My brand name works. It quickly set me apart from others in my industry. So happy I trademarked it years ago. My buddy, Jim, is it Kukral?
Kukral, yep.
Told me to do that.
Jim's
yeah, definitely. Well, and by trademark, you mean register the trademark, because you can actually claim trademark protection at like the state level sometimes just using TM. You can just use TM, means you're claiming rights. But once you register it, that means it's like they've cleared it, nobody else has it, blah, 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 blah. And it puts everybody else on constructive notice that you have it. So if they start using it, it's like, well, you should have known because they registered it. So it's only a few $100 to register it. Totally worth it to do.
Yeah, totally.
Instantly, if you've got something you want to use.
Good morning to you. What was I trying to story something?
Story leader.
Yeah, I failed.
When people I know call me, they say, "Hey, franchise king," instead of "Hey, Joel."
Right.
Well, that could be awkward, right? Like on Tinder.
But it might also be.
They're like, "Hey, franchise king."
There are people that I call by their other names instead of, like Copy Blogger. I called him Copy Blogger for a million years, even though I'm friends with him. I still think of him as Copy Blogger. And when I go and type in Brian Clark, I'm always like, that other guy. Legally
How many people call Ann Handley marketing profs?
I know. I mean, there are a bunch of us who all call each other by our Twitter names. It's just you and I had our name as our Twitter name. So
actually, at first I had Laminatrix.
LLAMA, Laminatrix.
LAWMINATR.
Making it all the more easy for people to remember.
I still have it now. I didn't keep it the whole time. Like I changed it to my name because I was teaching undergraduate students and I was like getting weird questions. In addition to the weird DMs. So, because they always want to like find their professors on the different places and stuff. And so anyhow, I changed it. But then years later, I went and picked it back up just to hold on to it because I think it's funny. There's literally no other reason.
No, I like it. Tonight, by the way, starts Rosh Hashanah, by the way, Jewish New Year. So it starts at sundown, and it is a good time for judgment and atonement. And
very significant.
Oh
no. Well, what'd you do? I bet it was bad. Franchise queen and you had a fight, and then she got it in the split.
Royalty problems.
So I don't know. I don't have an answer about personal branding. All I know is everybody that we sort of came up with, and everybody I see sort of coming to the forefront still in the traditional social networks, in like LinkedIn, and Twitter and wherever, they're still using their first and last name, or sometimes their business name, like Joel was saying, business name.
Yeah, I was thinking about like the a lot of the gamer people that I follow. They use their gamer tag names, so they don't count, right? Because like a gamer tag, you wouldn't want to put your own stupid name on a gamer tag or something. So it's definitely a thing. Oh, I called out someone in my industry more than once.
Oh, you were a shit disturber.
So Popeye's Chicken finally said, "Get this man off Twitter."
That's it.
Popeyes, by the way, running into a little problem. I read their big sandwich boom in the 2019 when they released that chicken sandwich that they did not know was going to go insanely successful.
Oh, no.
They're in a problem now because those sales didn't quite sustain. Like no one, like it went crazy, like from people waiting 6 hours in line for a chicken sandwich to people going, it's not that great. So Popeye's Chicken having to reinvent themselves a little bit. And on the same note, different part of the industry, drive-thrus everywhere are having to reinvent themselves because there hasn't been much in the way of change in drive-thrus as such since like the late 1960s. So There's a few things, like we've seen that new design where Taco Bell, where you drive under the Taco Bell to get the food, and they kind of
Hadn't actually seen that.
Oh yeah. So they made it so that you're using the space a little bit better instead of like alongside the side of the building. You just go right underneath, and so they build 2 floors up, almost like a letter A box kind of a thing. And like you drive, it's almost like you go through their garage door.
Should find it and show us.
Oh yeah, I'll find it.
And also, can they just, this is all I want from drive-thrus, can they just make it so that it's not like directly next to parking spaces, so that if you park and go in, you don't have to wait 15 minutes for that line to move to leave the parking lot?
Well,
that's literally all I want.
That's where they're running into the problem. Like the
Too many
big
people.
problem is that why can I not actually see the picture that I want to see? The problem that they're running into is that people sorry. Ooh, no, I don't want to. The delivery order people and the mobile phone people and all that are causing an issue, even though that's now the lion's share of their business. So that's
I am the mobile phone people.
Yeah, like your Starbucks thing is causing the universe a problem, and you know that from the place where you go for that.
Except that I park and go in a lot of the time, which I don't think is that common. Let me move this.
So this is your new Taco Bell.
Oh, that's like a bank. It's like Taco Bank.
Taco Bank. Well, you gotta have those pillory things, the pylons, because everyone's gonna smash some things. But yeah, this is the problem.
I mean, when your target audience is stoners, this seems like not a great fit. I don't know.
They try so hard to make that not true, but I think
I know, but it's true.
Stoners and our kids. So,
new iPhone tacos.
No, new iPhone 15 launched yesterday, I guess it was. Overall reports are sort of lackluster. They're like, They called it the new color line, 50 Shades of Gray. They said, oh, amazing, you're going to start doing the USB-C that other phones, namely Android, has had for 4 years or more. Oh, good for you.
Grumpy Gus.
USB-C, which, by the way, started in 2014, is now finally coming to the 2023-24 iPhone. And France said we're not going to allow the iPhone 12 for sale anymore over there because it does not pass their radiation testing criteria.
Wow.
So Apple said, oh, sorry, whoops, we'll fix that for France. So if you're sticking an iPhone 12 up to your head, just think about that for a minute.
I want to say I have a 14. I don't remember. So mine probably comes with even more radiation.
I don't know.
So I was a law clerk. Those are like when you first graduate law school, if you want to, you can go work at a courthouse and help draft opinions for judges and stuff. So anyway, while I was doing that job, there was a lovely intern who was an engineer going to law school to become a patent lawyer. And her name was Bhavani Parmar. She practices still. She told me that she had taken a radiation detector thing around microwaves, around all sorts of stuff. And she said nothing except for the cell phones looked like they might be a problem.
We're all going to die.
Yeah. I mean, this was a while ago, admittedly. So the early phones maybe were worse. But
not related to iPhones, but my next news story. The 10th richest man in the world has decided to finally put legs on the virtual avatars. Meta's Horizon, whatever it's called, avatars. They're little flying VR. This is the future headset avatar people. Now have legs because everyone made fun of them for floating around with no legs. Except legless people who are like, man, this is awesome. I feel so represented.
All I can, since we started this show talking about my oldest, who is 17, and their opinion about certain things, let's talk about their opinion about social networks, because no interest in Facebook, really no interest in Instagram, next to no. They look occasionally. They don't post ever. Mm-hmm. They use Discord.
Which is all small, private little networks. Mm-hmm. I spend most of my pleasant time on Discord now. I browse Reddit, but that's not a very networky network. It's just a place to, consume. But yeah, I have a lot of chats on Discord with my gamer friends, with my AI art stuff and all that. I mean, I think I've said it for so many years that I figure I'll be right one of these decades that we're small private networks. But
do you think privacy is what's driving it, or do you think
intimacy? Okay. Not privacy, I think. I think it's, I want to be with my friends who like the things I like. Homogenous is kind of out. Pasteurizing is in.
Huh.
I think. Well, I mean, look at the political landscape.
No, thank you, please.
That's what I'm saying, though, right? Like, you don't want to hang with that crowd. You want to hang with people who
Don't.
believe what you believe. It's just a different thing.
I just have been reading that book you recommended a couple weeks ago, Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. And part of it's explaining why people hold on to their beliefs, political and otherwise, from the get-go. It's because we tend to believe what we hear. Like, basically, as tribe creatures who used to live in really small tribes, we tend to believe what we hear, and then it's very hard to dislodge that belief.
Right.
And we don't think on a scale of like thinking in bets. Like, I don't know, I'm like 50-50 on this. Might be true. Still looking into it. We're like all in, or we have to admit we were completely wrong.
That's right.
And so that's why it's so difficult for people to change their views, political and otherwise. I'm a little worried that that's not going to change anytime soon, with everybody finding their little like honeycomb niche on Discord and only talking to people who also think like they do. But
it's just how it's going to go, I think. I don't know. I don't know what's going to bring us back. I mean, I just saw another thing talking about how Disney, good point, Joel. Disney is selling, getting ready to sell or entertaining the sale of ABC, which they have eight big network areas like LA, New York, and a few others. And one of the things that has come out of that is people kind of longing for the old days of cable, where we all had the same handful of channels. And I, for one, don't miss that, because I just remember, we would spend a lot of time trying to consume anything we could do. And I just think that we're at a point where we only want to talk to people who want to talk about the things we want to talk about,
Joel says it's ego and the inability to admit we were wrong. Now, here's the thing, Joel, as I just learned in this book, which of course I believe without having validated it, it feels twice as bad to be wrong as it feels good to be right. So we are very much disinclined to be wrong.
That's weird, because I think I'm just so used to being wrong that it's just part of
that's such BS. You are determined to be right. You will screen capture conversations from months ago to prove that you were correct.
That's a whole other thing when I'm right, but I'm wrong so often. Pocky One Chip Challenge. Are you familiar with this thing?
I am not.
Okay. There is a chip maker. It is a company called PAQUI, Pocky. And they came up with this idea where they took one potato chip and doused it in, I think it was ghost pepper, just doused it, just smothered it and whatever. And they would sell it as the Pocky One Chip Challenge. It was as ordered, a potato chip in a container. And you would get it and you'd eat it. And the challenge is, can you just eat the chip and kind of deal for like 5 minutes with no water, no nothing, just endure the heat of the spice flavoring. Now, it says all over the labeling and the packaging, for adults only, for God's sake, no kids, blah, blah, blah. Some teen kid took it and died. So they had their first reported death of a kid dying from eating hot, spicy chip, which you can imagine from your throat tears up from choking too much, coughing too much, something, who knows? Like, it wasn't exactly, it wasn't like a real direct, but whatever. A kid died eating the chip on the challenge. Pocky had to pull it from all its shelves and say, "Oops, sorry, we won't do that anymore. We'll call it."
The challenge is so stupid.
But it was like meant for adults, consenting adults who want to eat something hot. And I've watched a fun bunch of YouTube videos of like news reporters and everything. Like, this is no big deal. I love spicy food, and it has been super crazy. But yeah, it's off the table now.
This is the thing. We're not teaching critical thinking, and it's not an easy thing to learn because we believe everything we hear. So if you hear people saying, but no big deal, it's fun and it's not dangerous, like, they're going to do it.
That's right.
And that's insane.
Leslie has heard of the challenge. She said, I like spicy, but no, thank you. Yeah, I'm not, I'm not eager to do that one. I like sometimes, that's a little hot, but I don't want to burn my belly up anymore.
You'll cry. Like that scene in Vanity Fair with Reese Witherspoon where she's trying to flirt with some guy who's been living in India, and her family, his family knows she's like a gold digger or something. So they're like, oh, why don't you let her try some of the spices you like? And so she does, and she's got a tear running down her face. She's trying so hard not to say she hates it. She's like, delicious. She's losing it.
Speaking of chips, ARM, who has produced a lot of chips that are being used for things like AI generation and all that sort of thing, had their IPO. Now, being in the tech space and pre-IPO ourselves at AppFire, I watch that space pretty intently. Like, where's the one that's going to start us back into the excitement of IPOs? Because that would be useful for our choices. They debuted and on their very first day ended at something like a $51 IPO, which I love. And they finished the next day at $63 or so, making their valuation now $72 billion. Now, we're not anywhere near that valuation as a private company right now, and we won't be anywhere that where on our IPO. But holy cannoli, this is all based on AI sure isn't going away, and the computing power needed for it is a lot higher. So holy cannoli, it tells you.
Joel's got to take 5.
Oh, okay, Joel. Hang on, we'll just pause the show.
Oh,
you know what? It's a good time while Joel's taking 5, though, is I should probably look at our we are sponsored by StreamYard. You can make a show just like this and just throw some content up there if you want. It is cbrogan.net/StreamYard. It is so good and fun and easy to use. I have a new sponsor coming, Kerry. I can't really announce it yet, but
so excited.
A new sponsor coming. So I'm excited.
They'll probably be happier if we tell people when we move the show next time.
Yeah, well, as they say.
Guests of the show stay at the inconveniently located from downtown or anywhere, never to be confused with luxurious and never updated FDR Hotel, located somewhere off Highway 84 near an old gas station with a burned out van parked out front with a for sale sign.
I love him so much. I wonder what he's. I got to look at what he's doing lately. Tim Kitzrow.
These are all just like, audio files that we got, and that your man Dan, happy birthday, Dan, made really cool stuff based on it.
Well, pretty disappointing. We're living in different states right now for legal reasons, because thanks everyone who doesn't like LGBTQ people. But anyhow, I sent cheesecake for his birthday, and they were a day late delivering it. They were like, you know what? You don't really need this where he lives. We're going to send it to Kentucky. And then they're like, oh, never mind. Now we'll bring it. And it was a day late, and it was all soft and warm. And I was like, oh, no. Nothing like delivering a little food poisoning for someone's birthday.
Yeah, were they also $1 short?
Thanks, Gold Belly. No, I mean, all the pieces were there. They just were just not safe to eat. So, and then they gave me store credit, or they offered to send another one. I was like, but his birthday's today, so
don't really need one. So you and I talked off screen at one point about the fact that Mexico, for no particularly interesting reason, decided to show off that they found some aliens, mummified fossil aliens, so that they look sort of like easy bake oven versions of ET. As you said, on his worst days. There is now news that NASA has appointed basically a head of alien research. They have some other name for it. It's like UATs or some other name that makes it sound a little less dumb. But they have a new chief of UFO research. So I don't know what they're going to do with that person. I just imagine they're going to be like, nope, that's also not a spaceship. And, just.
It's going to be a little weird. It's like, well, I've been sitting on these for 50 years without talking about it, and we were so busy doing that, we didn't actually think about, looking to see if there's other ones that are still alive. Maybe we should do that.
Have you ever done like a rum-soaked cake?
Yes, it's delicious.
Because Leslie might be onto something here. She wants cheesecake, but a bottle of whiskey as well.
Oh, yeah, just slap those things together.
I have a feeling if you put those two things in the same bowl.
I'm all about it. Let's go. As the kids say. So at this rate, we might still be here when Joel gets back. I don't know. But
yeah, I was thinking Joel's going to come to the end credits or something like that. But I had a question, and this is total. Everything's 90 degrees. You know me. There's no.
Oh wait, then don't we have a graphic for that? For like a random.
I think we do. Where is that sort of a thing? I don't see it.
Did you get rid of it?
And this question comes all the way from downtown Crazy Town. Kaboom!
I mean, that's good. Worth it. I think Leslie's going to make us a recipe. We can go share it.
So in one hand, you got your cake, and on the other, you got your whiskey, and you just, who has a great one, actually? Steve Garvey. Steve Garfield of stevegarfield.com has an Irish mist cake that is delicious, and the recipe is on his website, stevegarfield.com.
In research for this show, I was looking through a whole bunch of articles, and every time I do this now, whenever I go and look at just the web in general, what I am finding is that more and more of this stuff at least reads like it was written by ChatGPT.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
day job is as, editor-in-chief. You are doing lots of editing stuff. What on this earth is wrong with people? Why are articles just worse and worse and worse? What's going on? And I guess the sort of question about this is, how do you write a better article? Like, what are people getting wrong in the formula that I'm reading like the worst things I've ever read before?
Everything. No, I think there's a couple of things at play. One is that they just want more in less time, and anything quality takes a little more time. AI can speed the process, but it ought not to replace it. So I think that's the problem. They're just like, bilge, and now we'll post it. Like, there's no fixing it up. There's no refining your prompts and redoing it or taking a pass through yourself. So that's one problem. Probably the bigger problem of the ones I'm going to mention. The other is, I think people aren't thinking enough about why they're doing content in the first place. Like, oh, we got to do content. Everybody does content. It's like just a thing we've got to do. And so they don't care about it. They're not thinking strategically about it in terms of what they want it to do for the business. They're not doing anything interesting or creative. It's a bunch of PDF, white paper, also ran blog post BS, if you look at most of it. So that's a problem, not strategic. And they're not thinking about how it's going to help anybody else. So if you're not really invested in helping the people who read it to do something better or change something for the better, you're not doing anything worthwhile. So there's a couple things there.
Interesting. Yeah, I find, look, I'm fussy.
We're invited to Leslie's.
I'm ready for it. I am fussy. I think that if you're going to take my time, you better make good use of my time. And if so, I have a few things I want from that. One is I want signposts to go down the post. I want to know where I'm going. I want you at the beginning of the post to tell me where I'm going. And this is the one that gets me the most. Every time, if I finish a post and it just feels like it fell off the ledge, I feel like, oh my gosh, why do you not know how to end something? You don't.
Only one thing's worse is when they go, buy our stuff. And that's the end of every post.
Yeah.
Every post. That's worse than what you're saying. And worse than that is when they do that at the beginning. I can't stand that. Like a big block promotional stuff at the beginning.
Yeah, that's extra worse. I read an article, and I'm not going to remember the detail of it because it was that forgettable, but it was kind of one of those, like, if the industry wants to change, it better do this. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll read this article. And I read, and it was about 80% of the balance of the article was everything wrong. And I was like, oh man, they're really pushing this. Like, I have heard from really important people that you could write 50% of an article or a speech as the thing that's wrong, because you're going to flip them and go, okay, and here's how you fix it. He said that flip was what made speeches the most memorable you could ever hear, or whatever like that. I've been telling you all the bad things. Now here's what we do. He said, that is the ultimate notebook sound. And I said, what? And he said, everyone rips their notebooks out really quick and gets their pen because here's the recipe, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I get what you're saying. I couldn't emulate it. I'm really bad at that kind of a speech, but I get it.
Tim's and Webster talked about that. You burn their house down, but you have to show them the castle on the hill.
That is exactly that. So I'm guessing she, heard it from another source or distilled his in a different way. I mean, they know each other or whatever, but I like that method. But yeah, so I think I'm amazed how many people can't end a post well, even if they have that particular formula in mind. Not that it's the right formula for everything. I don't really always want to read, here's what's wrong. Sometimes I just want the list of here's what you do. But
sometimes, yeah, if everybody knows what the problem is, like, please, can we stop saying, well, with the pandemic and all the tech layoffs, like, guess what? Everybody knows. You'd skip that part.
No.
We're good.
So, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's an interesting time for everyone to be pushing how great ChatGPT is as writing content, but it also needs a really good master at the helm to write that content, because if you can't end the piece, if you can't write with signposts, if you can't, there's all these other things to distill. can't, exercise brevity, then you're doomed, right?
Absolutely. There's some amazing resources, amazing ways you can use ChatGPT to like do research, speed up the process, program a persona into it, and then ask it to apply the persona and be like, what kinds of, topics would interest Bob that aren't currently being covered online? Like you can ask questions to help you in the writing process. But for Pete's sake, do not abdicate responsibility to ChatGPT.
Definitely not. Well, listen, I don't think you can do this in absentia.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
So
he's not back.
Sorry, Joel, you're not back. So hey, congratulations, Leslie. I think speaking whiskey earns you the person of the day today.
So that gets you a free apple. You just have to buy it and then turn it into a nice apple crisp or something to go with the rest of the baked goods you're apparently making today. So.
And just eat it. You don't have to worry about anything. Just
put it right Never mind putting the whiskey in the cake or anything else. Just drink it while you bake. It'll be really interesting.
I heard a dumb joke that someone turned into a little movie. And basically, this guy walks into a bar. This is how you know it's a joke, right? Guy walks into a bar and says, "I'll have a rum and Coke, please." And the bartender puts an apple down on the bar. And the guy's like, "What?" See, because it's person of the day with apple, right? So the guy goes, "What?" He goes, "No, just take a bite." The guy takes a bite. He goes, "Oh my gosh, this apple tastes like rum." He goes, "Now turn it around." And he goes, "Oh, this tastes like Coke. This is amazing." So this next guy comes in the bar and he goes, "I'm going to have a gin and tonic." And the guy goes, "All right, here you go." And he puts down another apple. And the guy's like, "What?" And the first guy goes, No, you're going to love this." And takes a bite of the apple. And he goes, "This tastes like gin." He goes, "Oh my gosh." He goes, "Flip it around. This tastes like tonic. This is amazing." Third guy comes in. This is a dirty joke, by the way. Third guy comes in and he says, what do you want to drink?" He goes, "I really can't decide. I don't know. I mean, unless you have something that tastes like," and he names a female body part. And the guy has, "What do you know?" And he pulls an apple out and he puts it down. This third guy goes, "Okay." And the other two are like nodding at him, like, "You're going to love this." And the guy goes, "Oh, it tastes like shit." That's the joke. That's it.
I thought you would hit end before that.
No, I had to tell the whole joke just so.
Boom shakalaka. Yellow card, Brogan. And Brogan is going down like a bag of hammers tonight.
Well, when my boss watches this one later, let's hope
I hope she watches this one.
Unfortunately, says Leslie, no cooking today, but I will take your drinking advice later.
I've got another joke about.
No, you're not allowed.
About a cross-eyed gynecologist. And the doctor says, "See her." What are you talking about?